Hey guys, tonight we slip into sandals, pull our tunic tight, and wake up way too early for a job that smells like death, warmed over in the Mediterranean sun. You're in ancient Romewell. Just outside Itand, your workplace is part seafood market, part alchemy lab, part olfactory crime scene. The moment your eyes creak open, you're hit with that familiar tang of brine and fermentation drifting through the cracked wooden shutters. This is not the ocean breeze poets dream about. This is fish sauce. This is your life. And no, you probably won't survive this, at least not with your sense of smell intact. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And hey, I'd love to know where you're listening from. Drop your location and local time in the comments. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You trudge across the packed dirt floor of your modest room, the straw from your bedding still clinging to your elbow. Someone, probably a donkey brays outside, already annoyed about something. Your sandals squish slightly as you slide them on. You're not going to ask why. You don't have the energy for mystery this early. You walk out into the pale blue haze of morning, where the air is still cool but not enough to mask the smell of half-rotted fish that's been basking in ceramic vats since before yesterday. Garum roams liquid gold, a culinary staple, a social divider, a nasal assault. Your workshop is a few steps downhill, conveniently placed so that any unfortunate spills don't end up in the boss's garden. Amphorae are lined up like sleepy soldiers, each one sealed tight for now, their contents stewing in briny, fishy silence. You give one a gentle pat. It squelches back. You pretend it didn't. A colleague, Cassius, always cheerful, in a suspicious way waves at you with a grin. "Smells good today," he says, voice thick with irony. You nod solemnly. This is the sacred morning ritual. Pretend it's not awful. Pretend this is what you wanted when you skipped that pottery apprenticeship. The sun creeps higher, throwing a watery gold sheen across the salt-stained tiles of the floor. The garum has to stew under the heat, which means your entire job revolves around things that are gross getting even grosser in the sun. Fun. You start your day by removing the thick, waxy lids off the closest amphora. Instantly, you're hit by a vapor wave of fermenting anchovies, salt, and something deeply philosophical like the scent of existential dread. Your eyes water. Your soul briefly leaves your body. Welcome back to work. You grab a long stirring paddle and begin gently shifting the top layer of fish mulch. A few squelchy bubbles rise to the surface like they're trying to escape. You get it, little guys. You really do. Stirring is vital. It encourages even fermentation. Historians still argue whether the Romans used precise stirring intervals or just went with meh. Looks good. Judging by the records left behind somewhere between detailed recipes and doodles of mermaids, you lean toward the latter. As you stir, your mind wanders. You think about that one time someone compared garum to modern ketchup and you had to lie down for a bit. That person's never had to clean garum from under their fingernails, or their kneecaps, or their dreams. A loud croak startles you. A frog has decided your vat rim is a good perch. You salute him. He doesn't blink. The labor is steady. Stir, scrape, wince, repeat. You move along the row of vats, each with a slightly different personality. Some bubble more, some smell sharper, some seem angrier like they've seen things. Each batch uses a slightly different fish-to-salt ratio. One of them is your pride and joy, a blend of anchovy, mackerel, and a touch of herby runoff from the neighbor's basil pots. You call it batch 17. Your boss calls it that one that didn't explode, progress. You pause for a break and lean against a stone wall, your tunic now soaked through with sweat and brine. Cassius offers you a dried fig. You declined last time. It had a crunchy surprise in the middle that was definitely not a seed. He tells you a story. Apparently, someone in Pompeii tried to infuse garum with wine, claiming it made it fancy. It did not. It exploded. You're not surprised. The stuff's volatile. Like your uncle who drinks too much mead and yells at statues. As you return to stirring, your foot slips slightly on the tile. A quick catch, you're fine, but it reminds you, the floors here are perpetually slick. Salt crystals mix with bits of fish, oil, and water. You've heard of people breaking bones in this line of work. A lot of people in this job don't retire, they just quietly vanish after slipping into a vat. A cheerful thought. Still, it could be worse. You could be the poor soul stuck on amphora cleaning duty. Those things are near impossible. You stretch your back, which cracks in about 6 places, none of them reassuring, and shuffle toward the next row of amphorae. This batch has been fermenting for over a month, which means it's ready to be tapped. You grab the ladle, worn smooth by years of scooping what can only be described as marine nightmares, and gently insert it into the top layer. A golden translucent liquid sloshes into your bowl. That's the good stuff, premium garum. The kind the wealthy patricians drizzle onto everything from oysters to boiled cabbage. You know what? They say nothing hides bad cooking like a heavy pour of fermented fish juice. As you fill an amphora, your apprentice, Lucius, shuffles up holding a pot with both hands, like it contains sacred treasure. He's 14, enthusiastic, and unfortunately clumsy. He's also chewing something, which is never a good sign when handling fish sauce. You narrow your eyes. What's in your mouth? He swallows hastily. Just some olives I found. You both pause. You both know what found probably means. You sigh. Don't die. We're short-staffed. Eames, and you immediately regret being nice. He asks if he can help stir the mackerel batch. You look at the amphora, the uneven walkway, the streaks of slime on the floor. No, you say gently. Go label the jars. This, of course, triggers your least favorite part of the job, pottery calligraphy. You hand him a brush made from stiff reeds and a little pot of black pigment. He squats beside the amphorae and begins to write, tongue poking out the side of his mouth as he scrawls "Garvum optimum" on a jug. It's charmingly awful. You go behind him and add a little symbol to mark which batch is which. Some makers use dates, some use weight. Your workshop uses little doodles fish, waves, a badly drawn dolphin. Your father insisted it added flair. Your mother called it primitive branding. Historians still argue whether these pictograms were decorative, functional, or just a way to mess with competing vendors. Cassius strolls by and snorts at Lucius's latest creation. That dolphin's got 2 tails. It's a trident, Lucius insists, deadpan. You've taught him well. By now, it's midday. The sun is unrelenting, bouncing off the stone walls and steaming the vats like a seafood sauna. You retreat to the shade, claiming a spot on the same flat rock you sit on every day for lunch. It's warm and smells like regret. You unwrap a simple meal. A chunk of barley bread, a handful of olives, you assume safe ones, and a slice of dried fig cake. Cassius flops down beside you with a groan. Still better than the tanner's job, he mutters. You both stare into the distance, chewing in silence. Somewhere, a donkey brays again, as if agreeing. Lunch is the one moment where the stink fades to background noise. Your body adjusts, nose numbs, and you almost forget what you're surrounded by. Almost. You catch Lucius trying to balance an amphora lid on his head like a hat. You look away. If you don't see it, it's not your responsibility. Back to work. You wipe your hands on your tunic and brace yourself for the afternoon shift, the customer hours. It starts with a familiar sound, the click of expensive sandals on the stone path. Enter the patron. She is tall, regal, and holding a lace-trimmed handkerchief embroidered with gold thread. She wears it like a tiny mask, pressed daintily to her face as if the world is one long, unpleasant smell, which, in fairness, today it is. She gestures vaguely toward the vats. Which one is, how do I say it, less pungent? You glance at the bubbling horror behind you. The one with the rosemary infusion, you say, which is a complete lie, but it gets the job done. She samples a dab on a silver spoon, pretends to consider, and then dramatically nods. Yes, divine, I'll take 2 jars. You wrap them neatly, seal them with wax, and try not to roll your eyes as she flounces away, leaving behind a trail of perfume and judgment. Cassius sidles up and mutters, "Do you think she knows what it's made of?" You grin. She thinks it's squeezed from sea foam and moonlight. But not all customers are dramatic. Some are curious. One older man in a travel-worn tunic asks you about the different types of fish. He listens patiently as you explain anchovy blends versus sardine-based sauces and how the salt content varies by region. He even nods when you mention that one scholar Pliny you think described the sauce as a delicacy and a digestive aid. He leaves with 3 amphorae and no lace handkerchief. You like him? Then come the rivals. There's a crew from the Garum workshop down the hill fancy new operation. Tiled floors, rumoured to use imported fish. They arrive casually, pretending to browse, but you know the game. One of them chats up Lucius. The other circles your premium vats with theatrical interest. You catch one of them sniffing deeply, then muttering something about over-steeped brine. Cassius hears it too and,
by the time the sun flattens itself against the horizon, bleeding gold over the tiled roofs of Pompeii, your limbs are begging for mercy. The vats are finally covered for the night, with wooden lids weighted down by stone, the last jars of garum tucked neatly into storage, and the flies never leave. They just form committees and vote on which parts of your face to land on next. You duck inside the shed, a cramped structure with a roof that leaks when it's not supposed to, and a wall that holds exactly 3 things: a cracked mirror, a splintering bench, and a faded painting of Neptune holding a fish like it's a family heirloom. You think it might have been painted by someone with a loose understanding of anatomy, but you've never had the heart to paint over it. You splash your face with a scoop of water from the rain barrel. It's slightly warm, slightly salty, and possibly home to a few mosquito eggs, but you're past caring. At this point, a luxury bath would just feel suspicious. Cassius is outside, sweeping fish scales off the path with a bundle of twigs. It's less for cleanliness and more about pretending to fight entropy. Lucius is humming to himself and trying to stack amphora lids into a pyramid, which collapses roughly every 2 minutes. "Why don't we use lids that fit?" he asks, as one clatters down dramatically. You smile without turning. "Because we live in a world where things don't fit and still have to work." He ponders this like it's a philosophical breakthrough. Wow. You dry your hands on your tunic and step back out into the courtyard, the day's final chores calling your name like a passive-aggressive opera. There's the inventory to finalize, the salt levels to record, and of course the jars to inscribe with tomorrow's shipment details. As you work, you glance up at the soft, smoky horizon. Somewhere out beyond those hills, a villa is waiting for your garum, its kitchen already prepping boiled dormice or lentil stew, ready to drown it in your signature sauce. You hope they appreciate it, but you know they don't. Roman society treats garum like ketchup, universally loved, universally taken for granted. Still, it has its moments. You once got a letter from a cook in Ostia who claimed your last batch made her weep. That might have been due to the salt, but still emotion is emotion. "Did people always eat fish sauce?" Lucius asks, staring at the rising moon. Cassius chuckles. "Since the dawn of bad decisions." You chime in. "It's older than Rome. Some say the Greeks had a version, even older still. In the East, they made something similar. It's a thing humans dole fish in barrels and hope for magic." Historians still argue whether garum originated purely in Roman lands or borrowed its slimy brilliance from Greek or Phoenician neighbors. One theory even suggests a happy accident. A shipment of anchovies left too long in the sun during transport. One person's rotten cargo became another's culinary revolution. Your stomach growls again, reminding you that lunch was half a fig and 2 existential olives. You slice into a bit of cheese, still wrapped in fig leaves, and share it with the others. Cassius eats like he's afraid someone will take it away. Lucius tries to peel the leaf and accidentally eats half of it. "Good fiber," he mumbles. You take small bites, watching the stars begin to peek out. It's peaceful, in a way. If you ignore the lingering scent of fermented fish and the occasional squawk of an owl that might also be part pigeon, part local legend. One of the neighborhood kids runs by the gate, waving a stick like a sword. "Fish juice warrior," he shouts and vanishes. Cassius groans. "That's what we're calling ourselves now?" "Could be worse," you reply. "Could be anchovy avengers." The night grows cooler. You light a small oil lamp, setting it down beside the entryway to the storage room. It flickers, casting long shadows across the amphorae. The workshop looks almost elegant by firelight if you squint and have a head injury. Lucius settles down on a sack of salt, blinking sleepily. "How long have you been doing this?" he asks. You pause. "It's a good question. You've been steeped in fish since you were old enough to walk without falling into a vat. Your father ran this workshop before you, and your grandfather before him. Back then, the sauce was different, more coarse, heavier with bones and grit. Over time, the process refined. More salt, better straining. You even added those clay filters at the bottom of the vats. Your idea. Revolutionary? If you do say so yourself. I guess I've always been doing it, you say. Some people are born senators. Some are born soldiers. I was born smelling like sardines. Cassius laughs. You'll be buried in brine. Lucius is quiet for a moment. You think I'll be good at this? You look at him. His tunic is stained, he smells like despair, and he's got dried figs stuck in his hair. But he hasn't quit. That counts. And now, with the stars above your workshop twinkling quietly, and the night air finally washing away the day's salty weight, you let your eyes rest for a moment longer. The world slows down, softens, and the flicker of your little oil lamp dances gently across worn stone and smoother memories. There's no noise now, just the distant sigh of the sea, the faint rustle of fig trees beyond the courtyard, and maybe just maybe the whisper of an old family recipe floating through the still air, half remembered and wholly comforting. The garum has settled. The barrels rest, steeped in their slow alchemy. The city is quiet, even the donkeys asleep in their stubborn little dreams. You tuck your hands behind your head, lying back on a crate that smells like yesterday's catch and tomorrow's fortune. Somehow, even with everything, you feel content. Not because it's glamorous, not because it's easy, but because it's yours. Every drop, every jar, every joke scribbled on a crooked label. So let that sleepy sea breeze carry you just a little farther now, past the smells and the chores, beyond the crooked tiles and the cracked amphorae, into a night where even fish sauce can feel like poetry. You did good today. You'll do it again tomorrow. But not yet. Now it's time to close your eyes.